Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the Just Jump In live stream. Hope everybody's having a good week and a less exciting week than we're having in this household. But hopefully it's a good one. If you're out there, let me know. Let me know what you're up to. Just say hello in the chat. Make sure that you can all hear me. I said hello to Randy earlier. He was the first one in the chat. Hi, Mom. Welcome in. Bill, I can see you. Welcome. Nice to have you in here. So, what has everybody been up to? I'm sure most people are outdoors these days, with it being summertime and all, and schools letting out and everything. I've got dogs, so I'm outside all the time, but no kids, so no summer activities to drive them to or anything like that. And kind of happy about that, not having to drag people around. So, there we go. So I haven't been up to a whole lot, but a whole lot's kind of happened this week. As of last week, you know that I got the modules moved upstairs into the cove. Um, I've got them set up now. You can see on the thumbnail that I was hard at work pulling up all the track. There may have been a turnout or two or three that I might have saved, but almost all of the track is gone. And it's a mess on there. So, but I'm not solid on my plans yet of how I'm going to approach it. My original idea was to pull up the thin board that I had on there because it was kind of warpy and stuff. It wasn't real solid, and depending on where you put the level, it was level or not level. And I bought the foam. I have a sheet of foam that I can cut down to fit the modules. So I want to use the foam, but I'm trying to decide what to do about the pieces underneath that I have holding the legs. I probably could fit a thin piece of wood into the holes and glue that and probably screw that in so that it holds the legs, but it's going to end up pushing it slightly higher if I do that, if I have any level of that. So still trying to figure that out. So, and then I did do the finishing on the car. So we can take another look at that. I finished all the decals that I was going to do. The set of decals that I have didn't have um, didn't have what would go on them, and it's basically giving a number to each of these troughs. So I didn't end up putting anything on there. And again, there's so many different looks to these, including hand painted, spray painted numbers, things like that, on the cars. So I stuck with sorry about that. Just got a message. So these should go according to the pictures on each one of these, but I think these troughs are a little bit slightly shorter, I think, than these. They ended up. They're not exact, and it might be from the printing. I could maybe cut off one of the lines on top of the decal, and I could put them on all of them. What I'm finding, though, is from a look perspective, I think that these are a little bit small. These could be bigger. So I got one on this one on both sides, but all of them have it on a car that's decaled completely. Also, I managed to get one of these two semi-straight. You can barely see it, but there's a decal inside there, and there was supposed to be one on there, but I've not been able to get through these bars on either side of the car, so I left that off. I think we'll get the picture with that on there. And again, there's so many different states that these cars are in that they don't all have all of this. And so this is a really good, really reasonable facsimile. So hey, Dwight, welcome in. Good to see that you're able to stay awake, at least for a little while, to come hang out with us. So I have the 3D printed trucks that I was going to use for this. However, I was thinking about I'm going to take a look at the hobby shop in town to see if there's. I just want this to. I want to be able to say this, even though I can use a commercial part for the merit piece of this. I just want to be able to say that it's as accurate as possible, and these should be, according to most documentation, should be. Hey, Rick, welcome in. Did you shower yet? Should be 150-ton trucks and 38-inch wheels. I don't have any. I'm actually out of the metal wheels. I use Intermountain wheels. But I've only had 36 for the passenger cars and 33 for freight cars. So I do want to get 38-inch so that those are accurate. And then if I can find specific 150-ton or heavier trucks, I'll do that. If not, I have the 3D printed trucks, but I also have to get the wheels. So I'll be looking for wheels and trucks this weekend. And no big deal if I don't get them, because they're commercial parts anyway. So they're not going to have a huge weight on the car at this point. One of the things that I did different here, there's a lot of decals on here, but the way the decal sheet had them, they were pretty much set up, clustered together, I guess you would say, the correct way. So this whole thing right here is a decal. From the logo all the way over to here is a decal. That's a separate one. That's a separate one. And those two end ones are separate. I just never wanted so much of the decal sheet on my models. But this at least makes it look straighter than if I were to do it. I would be off quite a bit. And so, I could potentially spend some extra time, and on camera you can't really see it, but it's pretty glaring that you can see the decal film pretty good on this one. This one actually is pretty well absorbed. So it would help if I showed you that. This one's pretty well absorbed. This one you can see, if I shine it like this, even on camera, you can see decal sheet. And there was some bubbles that I was popping also on this side. Much more on this side I had difficulty with, and you can see here, you can see the outline much more. And you can see some of the bubbles I was popping there, and again over here as well. So I'm going to want to just see if I can add another layer or two of the microsole to see if I can get it to soften even more. Yeah, let's not do that. I mean, I'm sure there are some people out there that will be into it. And then I had to add one of the grab irons back, and I was able to do that relatively easily. The grab iron work is okay. I probably need to repaint that one there a little bit, and that stirrup. And there as well. So we will see how that all comes out. But that's where I got with that. So I remember, throw out there what you're working on. Randy, are you camping again? I mean, this is the season for it for sure. Anybody else working on models, or everybody just outside at this point? Well, I don't know if you could hear that, but I think it's time for the dogs to go out and have their little walks and everything, because we take them one at a time so we can be sure to make them jealous of each other. And I got a barker downstairs. So, okay. So what else happened this week? We had a major quick storm, but a pretty major one come through, rain, thunder, lightning, and the whole bit. And for the first time this year, and in a couple years, I think, our power went out, and it flicked back on a couple times and out and on, and then it went off. Then the power company, it looked like they got it back on, then it popped back off again. In the meantime, everything seemed to be fine around the house, except for our refrigerator. Our refrigerator apparently just had enough and decided it was going to heat everything up. And so the temperature in the freezer first skyrocketed. We unplugged it, did the reset stuff. We've had problems in the past. Well, we had a time in the past, probably 5 years ago, where the refrigerator was fine, but the freezer wasn't keeping temperature down. Um, it was until the other day, and it skyrocketed. And then then the temperature in the refrigerator side, it was a side by side refrigerator and water dispenser thing and all that. Um, and the refrigerator started to go up, and it quickly went up. So our refrigerator's not refrigerating anything. It's in the 50s now for both the freezer and the refrigerator. So we went online and found some 4th of July sales going on, so that was good. And quickly ordered a refrigerator, and that's not coming until July 2nd, so next week. Good thing I took some time off from work because the in-laws are coming to hang out, because now I'll be here to receive our new refrigerator. So until then, right now we just have a cooler, and that's all we're using at this point. And we're going to have a lot of lunch meat for the next few days. And so that was a lot of fun this week. And we'll have to, our garbage isn't till Thursday. And that's Thursday the 2nd. So on Wednesday, we're going to be cleaning out that whole thing. That freezer and refrigerator are going to get a real good cleaning. And that's what our garbage is going to be. So life is so much fun that way. Other than that, I haven't, that's what I focused on. What I want to bring up though is something you may find interesting, maybe not. Oh yeah, and hot dogs. Everyone knows that my mother is a miniature dollhouse miniature dealer, and she has me work on projects to using 3D printing to enhance her booth that she has at some international shows that she does. And so, that's always on my mind. And I'm always looking for new techniques. So I watch and consume as much as I can, in not just in model railroading, but other hobbies, including crafting, including dollhouse miniatures, because it's really just another scale. And if you pay attention to it, they use a lot of the same tools that we do in model railroading. So I YouTube stumbled on for me a show that's like 3 years old now, and so they have all the episodes, all the seasons in a chunk on YouTube, and it's I'm not sure if you've seen Lego Masters, but Lego Masters is a build show, and you have teams that compete and everything. Well, this show has, they're not, I don't know if they're produced by the same people, but they have the same format. You have teams, you have artisans or teams, pairs. At least on Lego Master, they have pairs, but they compete week to week, and they have to build something. They have like a small build, then they have a major build, and people get eliminated by not being as good as the other people. So, so I got caught watching this, and it scares me because it's inspiring me to want to try to do things. Now, I want to do them in a Joe scale, but because my mom is, heavily into the dollhouse miniature world, that could be a proving ground or a place for me to try. And when I come to model railroading, I loved taking the commuter trains into New York City from New Jersey, and riding on Amtrak. And so I like passenger trains. That's where I come from. And I only, as I moved out to the Midwest, did I get to know about freight trains. Not that they didn't have freight trains out east, just not as much. Um, so I come to that as a fan of railroads and trains and things, but not really knowledgeable like some of the engineers who are also model railroaders and that sort of thing. So um, I come from enjoying the artistic piece. I love to build stuff. I like kits and I like challenging kits. And I was afraid of kits for the longest time, but I'm um, now I'd rather try to scratch build things, and I both scratch build things like this with styrene and with 3D printing. So I like the design process with CAD. Um, but I just like making things. And so now I'm a little scared. But I will challenge you all to check it out on the YouTube. Um, and It's called Best in Miniature. It's out of Canada. The production company is out of Canada, and but they have competitors from all over the place. And I think they've not. I think they've had 3 seasons. So I will put the link in here in the chat here to check it out. You'll notice the thing I noticed because they have time constraints. They use a lot of hot glue. A lot of the times they use a hot glue gun, but they all have a container on their desks, on their work desks. Oops, like this. It looks exactly like this, maybe smaller. Not quite as small as these little ones that I have, but they're just like Alien's tacky glue. Now, none of them have a label on them, so Aliens doesn't sponsor them, but I guarantee you that's what they use because it's tacky because of the way it dries. So they probably just take these labels off. They're clear labels, basically. So I thought that was interesting. And so they I'm sure they have a full set of accessories that they can bring with them with their tools and things like that that they could build with, but they have a ton of build elements that they have to put in, and they basically set up um, their themed dollhouses at home, but just the walls to it. And they have to, as one of the builds, they have to build the walls and set up the house. And then it goes room by room, and they do room by room. And then the final round's the exterior. The winner of the last show, I'm probably going to ruin things for you if you actually do dive in like I did, but the winner of one of the shows was a guy who brought for the landscaping part of outside the dollhouse, he brought his static grass applicator with him. And somebody else did too, but she kept shocking herself because it looked homemade. It looked like it looked like a kitchen strainer on a long stick, and she kept shocking herself, which wasn't funny, but was funny. But they use all those same things that we do. And so of course, so it was very interesting to me, and all of their artwork and really showing their skill come through was really neat. One guy made me want to use like acrylic. Yeah, it wasn't quite well, it was bug zapper parts probably. One of them was homemade. The other one wasn't. It looked like one from Europe. It was black. It wasn't the Static King, but it was one that I think was from Europe. But that one was definitely a commercial one versus the other one that was on there. So the themes that people came up with, and they would keep the theme throughout the house, and the details that they were put in there were amazing, and how they'd set it up. And they would try not to use commercial parts for this, but they had like what they called a store with all commercial parts that were there for them if they needed them. So that was kind of interesting. But obviously they brought not only tools, but I think they brought things um, that were because how did they print out like um, commercial thing, like if they were doing a Heinz ketchup bottle and they actually had the Heinz logo on there. I don't think they just went on a computer there and printed. Of course, they didn't show that out. So I think they were able to bring supplies with them as well as their tools. But it was anyway. I it's I spent hours and hours of time watching it and not going to sleep when I should. So I didn't get a lot of sleep this week because I was watching those shows. But it really inspires me to want to do stuff. So when I get to the end of things, or I'm waiting for things like this to dry or whatever, I kind of want to try to do other stuff. And so, like, for instance, after talking about it for a couple weeks and looking this over, I want to get back to fixing this so that I can also submit this for see if I can get a merit on this car. And so just a few things I have to fix. I got to add in a hole on these cross beams. I've got to move this bolster back. And I'd like to fix the bolsters a little bit because even on this one, I might have to try different. I might still have to try different wheel sets to make sure that these turn. Because one of there's a limit to, I don't know if you can see that, but it's not just the wiring underneath. There's a limit to the turn on these sides. So I may have to decide to come up on those so that these have a turning radius that's manageable. But the main things I need to fix are, again, the positioning of this one's got to come back. Got to add in the extra hole for over here. And then I was experimenting because I wanted to put the stirrups that I had on this car. So I was experimenting how they would go in and make sure I saw how they would go. And this one went in. Can't really see that one. That one went in a lot better than this one. This was the first one I tried. So the other thing I was worried about for stuff like that and any details that I use that need to actually screw into here is a little bit harder to drill into. Just the plastic that's used, I guess, is a little bit harder. So got to be careful of my mini drill bits and stuff and making sure I'm able to do that for this. But so that was a good experiment, but I've got to fix the wheels and then add the ladders, and then I'll have to find some decals and add some decals to this. This is going to be New Jersey Transit, so I'm just going to have to find an NJTR for this and some other generic markings, and so I'll have to look at those and to get that one done. And then I've got to go back to the passenger cars and finish up working on the passenger cars, and I'm trying to merit those 4 cars. So I have the flat car that merited, I'm going to try and get these two to merit, and then a passenger car to merit, and then fill out the rest of the roster of the needed cars with the passenger cars, with super detailed passenger cars. Hopefully at some point, getting that certificate taken care of. Other certificates to go along with this, these projects are author certificate, which I'm trying to get. I've got to get tabulated what I have. Two new articles are coming out in the Fusey, which should be out soon. I think it was due out for I think it was supposed to be a July issue, but it may be coming out slightly sooner. Not exactly sure. It might be in my inbox and I'm not necessarily seeing it. And let's see if, oh, let's see here. No. Oh, here it is. Yeah, it came out on. Let's see. It came out this week. I don't love my email because things get buried. Let's see here. So there's an article about the hobby, pages 8 to 10, and model railroading primer, pages 36 to 40. So slightly smaller, but a couple articles for you to check out. And you can do that on the Thousand Lake Region website. Yep. So, yep, you're ahead of me on that, Jimmy. So, well, not technically, but by YouTube standards, but I just saw it in there. So, I have basically a rant type article. We're trying to move on from some of the negativity, and then one that I hope is helpful to other people, because you never know what glue drying times are out there for the glues that you need. So I did a little bit of research on as many glues as I could possibly, based a lot on the glues I use for sure. So it's not going to be, everybody's going to have some different glues that I haven't used or haven't looked at. So it's just a primer. It's just to get you to understand glue drying times by type, and because the types will have similar drying times, but the individual companies may have different drying times that they promote. But that one was an important article for me because now I can refer to it whenever I'm unsure about glue drying time, so I know what else I can go figure out, what I can go do in between, because I hate sitting there. So I did a lot of review of labels and websites and source websites, meaning the companies that I was kind of talking about in there, not just generic. I mean, I could have just said to any one of the AI programs out there, or even just Google, and said, what's the drying time for, CA glue, and then just took their word for it. Well, I didn't do that. I wanted to make sure I had some level of accuracy in that because I want it to be a resource for people. But this one's chock full of other stuff as well. I don't know if he got in there. And then there's an introduction to the Black Hills and Eastern Railroad in the Fusee by Eric Carlson. He also has a YouTube channel for all of you YouTubers out there that is a great channel, and I learn a lot from him. Let me find it for you. Make it easier for you instead of, let's see here. It looks like he also has a link to his Facebook. He has let's get the why it does that, I don't know. Let's go backwards here. I apparently can't handle things tonight for some reason. So that's the Black Hills and Eastern. So you can read about him in there and his layout information and what he's modeling. So yeah, so that's got what the heck is going on here? All right, I got all kinds of sounds going off around me here. Anyway, so check that out. Again, you can go if you're not a member or not of the necessarily of the region, you can still go out to their website and check out the Fusee. Although I'm not sure. Doesn't look like it's been published yet, so it should be published shortly with the latest one. Since it came out, it may take a minute to get published, but you can check it out there if you don't get it in your inbox. So that's good to hear, Jimmy. I appreciate that. I hope I am helpful because I certainly don't want to waste people's time. So what's everybody got on their workbench tonight, or this week, or this weekend? because that's, like I said, I haven't done a whole lot. I'm still cleaning up the room, trying to set it up, and then figure out what I'm going to do with the modules will be next. So. So. Okay. So, oh, there was one other thing. I had my mom sent me a box of HO scale trains that were all like Lionel HO scale or whatever. This one doesn't have anything on it. I just put on couplers and wheel sets, and I'm out of metal wheel sets. These are plastic for now. This is really heavy, so the plastics is probably fine. But there are about 5 or 6 cars. There was one that was like a U.S. Navy car, and the top would open up. This is what I like about Lionel, although I find it more toy-like, so I don't love it. I don't love the 3-rail thing, but the top would open up, and it had like a foam missile that there was a spring on the inside, and it was over top of this plastic piece, and there was a lever on the car, and you could shoot the missile off. That I always thought was cool when I was a kid. I wasn't what I remember, and so this might be selective memory, but we had a huge, probably 4x8 board, plywood board with a figure 8 track on it. But I remember saying that it was for my brother and I wasn't allowed to use it. And it might have been my age. But I just remember the cars. And so long after knowing about that board and remembering about the board, I had seen these cars again a couple times when I was a kid. Yeah, so this one seemed to be in decent shape. It's a little, so this is all metal in here. This is a metal bottom. One of the cars, I actually has made my first 3D print was stands to go under the tank, and it was a tank on the side of the railroad where it would be filled up with gas from a tanker car on the team track, and that was like one of these, and the bottom was metal. And I remember using a Dremel to kind of get the bottom off and everything, and I was like, no, I'm not gonna cut that. It was bad news in here doing that. So I ended up just taking this bottom piece off completely and getting rid of that, and putting in designing 3D printing in the underside piece that goes under here, and then what would be cement stands for it. So that was the first one. So that's Bill. That reminded me of that. One of the things that's really tempting me, Jimmy, is I still have a bunch of kits that are undone, and I don't. They're not going to be prototypical for the layout, but I still want to build them. I even got the that big one on my Chicago trip. I even got that big motel that I really kind of want to build from Walters, or from Walters when I was at Lombard Hobby. So I'm always tempted to dive into those, but I keep trying to get myself focused back to this. So I have to. Part of the issue is we share. So I'm using the computer tonight for the live stream, but Gopher Girl and I share the computer, but she needs it for work. She needs it for income, pay for that refrigerator and all. Ay. Come on. I tell you, this does this a bunch of times. Give me a sec to reset here with this. See here if it's going to pull it up again. Come on. You can do it. You know, why are you doing this to me? It is connected. It is connected. This happens. So I'm not sure why this happens with Restream, but it flashes white. The whole browser flashes white, and then it shuts off. Then it shuts off the camera, and I'm having to do something here, and I don't know what. Give me a sec. Let me see if I can make something happen here. So, so it is not behaving with me tonight. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to try and restart my camera software. See if it does anything at all. This. Into there we go, and I'm back. Not that you haven't already seen all this stuff, but I don't know why it does that. I haven't figured it out. I haven't seen anything on it. There's nothing wrong with the computer, Gopher Girl. Yep. So, let's see here. Okay. That's a mighty mouthful, Randy. The 60-foot center beam opera window flat car. So, yeah, and so as I was saying, we share this lovely computer that does that. But she uses it for work and play and all that, but mainly for work. And so I don't have a lot of as much time on it. If I could get my butt moving in the mornings on the weekends, I could have plenty of time on the computer because she's a night owl and gamer, so she's up late and sleeps late. And so if I could get moving in the morning, I could get a lot done. And there are once in a blue moon I do, um, but it would be nice to move on the 3D printed version of this car, to move on this one, and the passenger cars are all. And then I also started with shells for building motive power, and so I have two shells that I'm working on. One's an FP40 PH, and one is a catenary maintenance vehicle that I've already done initial shell work, but need to keep moving on those. To once I get to that, then I want to get the prototype scene moving. So I've got to figure out what to do with housing the legs on the modules if I pull up the board. I could, I probably could just, I could just nail in to the supports that hold the legs, the top piece, and then cut around those. I just don't have the equipment to do that kind of cutting. Well, I'm not keen on I don't know. I'm not keen on it. I really at this point would like to just save the money and pay somebody to build more modules for me. But for these modules, the other thing I could do is I could put the foam on top of the boards that are there and try and get things evened out that way. So I certainly can do that. And then I can play, most of it's going to be flat anyway. There's going to be some angle to the way it's set up because it's going down to basically water level or sea level. It's a hill. But it's a small slope, but it's a hill anyway. So I have some, what is it, balsa foam that was recommended to me for the base of the station. Might even have to do that do something with the, I think it'll be a little harder to do with the tracks and the bridge that goes over it. But I'll need to come up with a way to do that, because as you go under it's a little bit flatter where the bridge is built, and it's a little bit of a slope after that, where the station is in front of it. And then, hey Ken, welcome in. And then it slopes up a little more steep back behind the bridge area back into town. Hello, new storyteller. Welcome in. So let me see here. There was one question I wanted to throw out in the chat with the upcoming 100th episode. Where are you? Let's see if this caption works. Okay. So what I would love to hear from you now and into, over the next couple episodes maybe, is to add into the chat what your favorite online hobby shop is, because I would love to give back to folks, and with some generous donations, I can give away do a small giveaway. And so I was thinking, what's your favorite online hobby shop? Maybe I can do a giveaway from the hobby shop that most people like to buy from. So make sure to throw that out there. Send me a note. Comment on the video afterwards. But let me know, as we're coming up on 100th episode real shortly here, and so I want to kind of celebrate that and give somebody a chance to win um, um, at least something that will take care of the shipping cost. Hopefully, a little bit more than that. So make sure to throw it in the chat or throw in the comments of the live stream or video if you're watching afterwards. So, yep, lots of work. What are you working on, Ken? Are you hanging out most of the time outside now during the summer, or? So are you from Tasmania, a storyteller? And do those folks do online business, or are they just brick and mortar? Yeah, lots of people have projects going on, and I'm actually surprised there were more comments about projects. I thought everybody would be outside. I thought I was the only one inside these days. Um, Knowing Randy, he's out in front of the fire right now, camping and watching and interacting with us. So yeah, so I mean that's my update. I've since I've looked on eBay for stuff. I've just never um I don't know. I've always had a bad vibe about eBay, but I don't have any personal experience to say eBay was bad or anything. Um, um, and I can't remember. I sold a bunch of. I must have posted them on Facebook, not eBay. But I'll look for stuff like, for instance, the decals I can no longer get anywhere. Um, I've looked on eBay for those. I just don't generally like the prices that people put out there for stuff. They sort of think there's a demand for that stuff, and or they're trying to create a demand to raise the prices. I don't know. The pricing is always, I'm always skeptical of that, and it's just I kind of like some of the guarantee you can get, more retail that you can get out of it, and other protections. And I'm sure eBay has some of their own protections and stuff. I've just always been skeptical of it. Um, I don't know, Gopher Girl, if you've had any issues with eBay, or if you bought any of your Legos on eBay or anything like that. Just, never been a place that I would like to go, because they do want to take advantage because things are rare, or they're not necessarily in demand, but they're like, well, you can't get this anywhere, so I'm going to upcharge you on it. Oh, neat, Randy. I didn't know I was going to be that accurate with that, but that's neat. So there's a YouTuber, a model railroad YouTuber, that takes a layout. He built a layout to take with him to operate, even though it's small, and scale layout on camping trips. He has a RV, Dan Cartapassi, um, and so he detailed um, how he built that and everything in a series of videos that he did, which was really neat. So there's not much more room in his, when he wants to pull that out and play with it, there's not much more room in there. But I can see you, Randy, sitting at the table in your camper with your Optivisor on, working on your N scale cars, or your hotel, or any of those. Yeah, always doing it. Yeah. So yeah. Um, so anyway, that's just never been. So I've just kind of, like you said, I've gone on to check prices. I've checked to see if anybody has it available. But you could even find stuff on there now that's available now retail, and you'll find it, and people will send the prices high on there as well. And so, and I just, and maybe it's because, maybe I remember eBay's start, and how it was at the time, it was really feeling like it was just it was like a group on Facebook, or a message board, for those of you who know what message boards are from back in the day, where there was no real controls. And so I guess that's where I got the start from, and I got that in my head. Now I'm an old crotchety guy, and that's in my head. So really haven't stuck. I'll look just to see if there's something out there, and I'll look to see if there's something out there, so that you know that'll give me the idea. I can continue looking and seeing if there are other places. But yeah, let me know over the next couple weeks on your favorite online hobby shop, and we'll try and figure out the most popular one amongst the community here, and see if we can do some sort of giveaway for that. So, yeah. All right. With that, I am gonna say just jump in and try something new. And I'm going to say have a good weekend to everybody. And hopefully next week we'll have a working refrigerator and we can try some new dish or something. We can just jump into cooking something different. But everybody have a fantastic weekend. And thanks for hanging out for the hour. Appreciate all of you for that. Have a good night, everybody.